Jumping into the Marvel Cinematic Universe for a brief moment, there we have been through WandaVision. We've been getting some hints that the X-Men may be making a debut. Recent episode. Now, granted, today's Friday. I have not seen the episode of WandaVision yet today, so if you have, please no spoilers in the live chat. We'll be doing a spoiler talk on Monday about it, but like it's becoming clearer and clearer episode by episode that maybe the X-Men aren't, maybe this is not the introduction to the X-Men universe. But you know, the X-Men have been in pop culture for quite some time. X-Men was my number one favorite comic book growing up. I loved the X-Men when the first movie came out. I loved it. My huge main introduction to it was X-Men, the animated series. And now with Disney acquiring the rights to X-Men and 20th Century Fox and all that, the question has become, when are we going to get more X-Men? And is it possible that we can get an animated series reboot started? Now, this was, when I came across this particular article, I didn't realize how much I wanted an X-Men animated series reboot to come out on Disney or Disney Plus or whatever, however, just distribution method they want to use. But I started realizing, like, I loved this show so hard that I find myself in my spare time going through and rewatching old classic episodes of X-Men the Animated Series. I love the show. This is the so far, and I'm including the movies here, this is the quintessential, in my opinion, version of the X-Men that there's ever been. I mean, a lot of people are going to take offense to that and say, but the comic books. Okay, great. Yeah, but like I feel like this really built on that. It stood on the shoulders of giants. It created something special and fun and unique and interesting and colorful and bright and hopeful. Something that we can connect with. This is my first entry to the X-Men, and I absolutely loved it. And reading this article, I never realized that I want a reboot of the X-Men. Now, to clarify, there are no plans currently to reboot an animated series of the X-Men. But I kind of feel like the climate right now is perfect for it. We don't have any hardcore plans, or rather, when I say we, I mean Kevin Feige, doesn't have any solid plans to introduce the X-Men into the current MCU. If he does, it's not going to be for a minimum of 3 to 4 years, maybe 5. A few years ago, Kevin Feige was very public in saying he already has the next 5 years of the MCU mapped out. And we only briefly got a hint that he's planning Fantastic Four to come down the pipeline at some point, which is going to be one of the last projects that they do in Phase 4. If not, the beginning of Phase 5. No mention has been made of the X-Men, of the characters, of any... The only mention that we got was in that 2 episodes of WandaVision, but that seems like a massive misdirect. So I argue the timing is kind of right for an X-Men animated series television show reboot. All the classic characters, all of their colorful glory, and tell some really interesting, poignant stories about the world we live in. Mike, I don't know if you're as big of an X-Men fan as I am or have been over the years, but like, where do you stand with an X-Men animated reboot? Do you think now is a good time to do it? Or do you think that it's just reboots, remakes, blah, 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 enough with them out the door? Like, where do you sit with this?
Hey, again, like when it comes to reboots, it's like I I always think it should be for the new generation. So I think like an X-Men reboot that's more focused on like sort of like the Gen Z or and the younger kids, definitely for that. Um, yeah, I don't know. I loved the show growing up. I mean, for me, I lived in this sort of weird era where we were getting reruns of like the original like X-Men animated show, but then we also had like X-Men Evolutions was
Oh,
like
I
coming out with new
loved X-Men
episodes week to week,
Evolutions.
and that was like a huge thing for me. It was so great. I actually found out recently that's also on Disney Plus.
Uh-huh.
Huge draw for me for Disney Plus was the fact that all the X-Men animated series were on there, and I was like, yeah, I'm gonna binge those. Like, I need to rewatch those. And yeah, I could definitely see them doing a reboot of it. I mean, I think there's some excitement. I think you're right about WandaVision. I do think it's kind of like a misdirect. I think bringing in Evan Peters is fun and smart, but I think mentioning the X-Men is a huge missed introduction to Fantastic Four and those characters. I mean,
But you can't
there's
deny
that.
it's generating buzz. It's generating a
It
lot
is.
of
Oh, it
buzz,
absolutely is. I mean, let's be honest. It pulls a lot from House of M, which is a
which
huge.
they've been mentioning. Like even in the first episode when
Mhm.
they pour the bottle of wine, the name of the wine, the label says House of M, but in French.
Right. This wild people have been like looking at the clock positions, and if you put them all together, and you
The
use like the
the decor inside the house. Yeah.
yeah, like there are definitely some hints and signs
Yeah.
and things like that. And I would love to see the X-Men show up, but I think this is we're definitely going to be setting up Monica Rambeau's photon in it. Where I always go back and forth as to who the astrophysicist that she knows is. I'm
I
like, how many astrophysicists are there in the Marvel universe? The biggest one I can think of would be Reed Richards, so that would just blow my mind.
I mean, we might find
Um,
out in today's episode. I mean, if I like I said, I haven't seen
yeah,
it.
I
You haven't
haven't
seen
watched
it.
it yet, so
If anybody out there in TV land has seen it, zip up because no spoilers. Don't want to know anything going into this. Um, I mean, who know? Like anything can happen. All I'm saying is, I feel like the climate right now is rife for an animated X-Men series reboot. Original producers on the show, have been very vocal in saying we want to do a reboot, and Disney has not responded to anybody's messages or claims or emails or anything like that. So I don't know. Maybe we can all hashtag the Snyder cut out of this thing and get Disney to give us an animated reboot. What do you guys think? Jump on down to the comment section below and let me know your thoughts. Hey everybody, thanks for watching. If you like this video, click like. If you really like this video, click subscribe. And if you really, really like this video, click share. Because that is exactly what the mighty Thor would want you to do. For Asgard!